I'd like to thank Deputy Cian O'Callaghan and the Social Democrats for bringing this motion, and I apologise for being late to it. I missed the opening statements from both Deputy O'Callaghan and the Minister. But if the Minister's response to Deputy O'Callaghan and this motion was anything like his response to my leader, Ivana Bacik, today, or Deputy Pearse Doherty, I can only imagine that it was another attempt at obfuscation and of denying the facts of the housing crisis as it exists right now. Because what we're having is a dispute about figures, about this, that and the other. There's not one inaccuracy or incorrect figure in this motion. There's nothing that you can dispute in terms of how badly failing our housing system is in this motion. And on three key levels, and three key measurements, we can look at where this government and where this minister is failing in relation to housing. Homelessness is up 51.5% under his watch. And not from day one, even if you give him a year. If you take Q2 2021, a horrible figure of 8,475 people homeless. 2 years later, July, 12,847. It's an increase of 51.5%. Rents are up 21.3% from Q2 2021, again a year after the Minister took office. 2 years beyond that, that's 3 years in total, average monthly rent €1,792. And it's worth repeating that €1,477 was by no means affordable in 2021, never mind the increases. And the one key area that the Minister is harping on about over and over again in recent months is the house price decrease that he keeps saying. House prices are not decreasing. They have increased. They've increased 17.6% from September 2021, when the average house price was €272,000. It's now up to €320,000. It wasn't affordable in September 2021, and it's even less so now, up 17.6%. We are not getting closer to affordability. We are moving further and further away. I met a young person in Swords recently, in his early 20s, living at home, talking about work, well educated, great career opportunities. I said, what do you want in life? I said, I just want to be able to afford my own home. Simple as that. Ask any young person at the moment. It's what they want, and it's what they feel is furthest from their reach. And this housing system, as it exists at the moment, is relying so much on the voluntary and charity sector as well. This morning I raised under health the Section 39 organisations, who along with the Section 38s and Section 56s and other voluntary bodies are sustaining a creaking health service. But in housing, the charity sector are sustaining the housing system. It is the charity sector and the voluntary sector that are coming in to meet the homeless need. It's charities. If you look at DePaul's 2022 annual report, they helped 7,400 people. That's just one charity last year. 1,600 of them were children. 763 families came through their services last year, and within that, 14 babies were born into homelessness last year in that one charity alone. And anyone who's been engaging with homeless services, with anyone working in the sector, anyone who knows anything about the sector, they'll tell you if a child is born into homelessness, they will have a much greater risk of slipping into homelessness as an adult. That's 14 children in one service born into homelessness last year who are going to be at a much greater risk of falling into homelessness as an adult. But those cycles go generation to generation. And this Housing for All plan does not giving us any confidence that those cycles are going to be broken. The targets in Housing for All are too low. The targets that aren't even being met are too low. We know from the government's own figures, from the CSO's own figures, with population growth and with the pressures, we need 50 to 60,000 homes a year. We're nowhere near meeting that as a state. And Housing for All is delivered in all its Darragh O'Brien glory. It'll be nowhere near meeting that. I welcome in this motion again a punitive tax on vacancy rates. Nothing angers and depresses and insults people as much as seeing a home, a house, a unit, apartment being vacant and being unused, particularly if that's owned by the state. There's no excuse for high levels of vacancy in state-owned housing units, none whatsoever. We actually got to a decent rate of turnaround a number of years ago, and we're now back up to the worst it's ever been. And it is an insult to anyone who's homeless or is facing a risk of homelessness to see a vacant 1, 2, 3 or 4 bed unit in their town or village. The ban on no-fault evictions needs to be reinstated. The government will say it didn't work when it was in. I believe it absolutely did work, because we know through our advice clinics and through our constituency offices that it was keeping people with roofs over their heads, and we know now that we're working through what's becoming an increasing number of people that are having hard notice to quits. On the tenant in situ scheme, it's not working. It's not working, and I want this point to come home. Estate agents are turning away from it. And estate agents are the first port of call for people selling their home, for landlords selling their home. And particularly the type of estate agents that actually specialise in rentals, that actually have been the rental agent more so, and that's their speciality. They don't want to go anywhere near the state in terms of selling the home. And in my experience, these rental agencies are an awful lot. In my constituency, we have people who are being evicted. They may not be born in Ireland, they may not have great English. The landlords themselves may be absentee landlords or living abroad, and you have rental agencies here who are now trying to flip the houses as quickly as possible on the open market. The tenants themselves may not be aware of the scheme. The council and the state aren't even getting a sniff of buying this house. And nothing is being done. There's no resources being put into the council to ensure that these houses are being approached to stay in stock. On domestic violence at the moment, and this is something that has absolutely exploded in the last couple of years since COVID in terms of presentations to citizens' advice informations, to Women's Aid, to shelters and to TD's constituency offices. Again, there is no processes put in place, either in the Department of Social Protection in rent supplement or in the HAP system or anything that expedites it. I've dealing with so many domestic violence cases where the application goes into the same queue as everyone else. And that, quite frankly, is an absolute disgrace. The supply, the Minister says, is coming on stream. When it does come on stream, there are 2 areas that are not making provision for enough, and that's for housing units for people with disabilities. And we keep seeing that houses are being built, units being built that are wheelchair accessible. They may be wheelchair accessible, but they're not wheelchair livable. And there's a big difference. So a bare 2, 3 bed unit that's going to be handed over, and it might be handed over in a bunch of 20, a bunch of 40, a bunch of 60, fantastic. How many of them are going to be suitable for people, particularly with young children with disabilities that are going to have lifelong needs? Very, very few. It's up to the councils then to retrofit them. That is not good enough. This government's asleep at the wheel on housing. This motion is absolutely excellent and we fully support it.
Thank you, Deputy.